All right, we are now live on Facebook. Yes, we are. Good evening, Facebook. How are you? Hey, we are in episode 2 of, and some of the people who are in the VIP chat, if you want to go have access to some of these recordings, you can go to www.unlearnme.live. And in the bottom resource, scroll all the way down in the bottom resource, you'll see the links to the different videos and some questions. I'm creating the unauthorized workbook of how to study the laws of success. So we're in episode 2 right now, and it's the Alexander Graham Bell's introduction to laws of success. Of the men named, perhaps Henry Ford and Andrew Carnegie should be acknowledged as having contributed most to the building of this course. Now, this book is 500 and some odd pages long. I don't know how long it was, but I know the PMA, the Positive Mental Attitude Workbook, that's another 300 pages that Hill would do live sessions on talking about the laws of success. There's a lot of content here, and I hope to get through this in a fairly rapid succession. It'll probably be 40, 50 episodes, maybe more. So this is, again, just the introduction. So I'm going to dive in and we're going to just see what Bell has to say about Hill and this course called Laws of Success. Of the men named, perhaps Henry Ford and Andrew Carnegie should be acknowledged as having contributed most toward the building of this course for the reason that it was Andrew Carnegie who first suggested the writing of the course, and Henry Ford's, whose life supplied much of the material out of which this course was developed. What do we know about Ford? We know he created the assembly line. We know that he created the V8 motor. We know that they have still the #1 F-150, the best-selling truck, right? Still today. This is Bell writing about these individuals, saying that he understood what Hill did with the laws of success, with this course, as they call it. And he knows enough about Ford and Carnegie swimming in the same circles that he could say he knows that Carnegie and Ford supplied the majority of the content. Carnegie, the inspiration, the flame, the flicker, the fire, and Ford, the reality of it. Now, Ford, we know, had a third-grade education. We also know many times if you study Ford and you study the writings of Ford Motor Company, you understand the concept of it. His bride was significant in many of the achievements. Now, she didn't do the research of the design, but when he went to go make the V8 engine, he didn't have enough money for the casting. At least he didn't think he did. He told his bride, I don't think we can go. I can do this. And she said, well, how much money do you need? She had managed to amass $400. Now, that may not seem like a lot, but if you know anything back then, when the times were back then, that was a lot of money. And she said, we have that in savings. And if it wasn't for that savings, who knows where Ford Motor Company may have arrived at. So Henry Ford, whose life supplied much of the material out of which this course was developed, some of the men are now deceased, but those who are still living, the author wishes to make here grateful acknowledgement to their service that they have rendered, without which this course could have never been written. And I have in the margins written, so who are you studying at close range? I mean close range. Who are you shoulder to shoulder with in reading their content and consuming all of their material? Or do you have what Cal Newport would say, a shallow work relationship with some of these people? Do you know them at a depth? Are you studying somebody at a depth who has created success, who's created a model of life you would like to have for your own? Many people are not studying anybody in deep work. They just aren't. I'm a student of Hill, Waddles, Carnegie, Bob Proctor. These are the people I study in depth. I study others at shallow to go back and look at how understanding Napoleon Hill, most everybody in the personal development world got their stuff from Napoleon Hill and the Bible. Pretty much. So let's continue. The author has studied the majority of these men at close range, in person. With many of them, he enjoys or did enjoy before their death the privilege of a close personal friendship, which enabled him to gather from their personal with many of them, he enjoys or did enjoy before their death the privilege of a close personal friendship, which enabled him to gather from their philosophy facts that would have not been available under other conditions. So I have written in the margins on this sentence, what are you learning that cannot be taught? Today, what did you learn that couldn't be taught? The mentors you hang around, what did you learn that could not be taught? Are you in relationships with those people you are building and crafting and molding your life after? Are you in relationships with them that you have no access to things that you can learn that can't be taught? You might want to look at that. You might want to look at, rather than posting a like or a follow, what can you learn that's not being taught? And this is where the fact is that words do not teach. Words don't teach. They inspire you to think a new way. If you're copying down the words you hear, you might not be learning the lesson you need to learn. Begin to study at close range. Question in the comments. The way so if you've ever witnessed me with other people, what's the lesson you've learned with witnessing the way I treat other people? I can't speak to other people that you've witnessed. I can only speak to me, that sometimes when you get to see me in person, there's not much different, but it's entirely different to be in my presence. Does that make sense? I'm not a different way. Everybody expects me to be a different way when they arrive here at the ranch. I'm not. What happens, though, is that it is such at a deeper depth because you get to see the physiology of my body. You get to see my eyes looking directly into yours. You get to feel the embrace of a hug that just doesn't exist. You get to see me around animals, right? You get to see me around my dogs and the way the dogs respond and respect. And so there's so many things that you can witness in learning that are never spoken. So the question is, can you give me some examples of, can you learn something that's not being taught? And so that was what that explanation was. I hope that answered that. You can let me know in the chat. The author is grateful for having enjoyed the privilege of enlisting the services of the most powerful men on earth in building the Law of Success course. That privilege has been remuneration enough for the work done, if nothing more were ever received for it. Just doing the work, he was happy enough. This is Bell talking about Hill. These men have been the backbone and the foundation and the skeleton of American business. So think about that. Look at your business. Are you the backbone? Are you the foundation and the skeleton? I love when we start to dissect the words that the printer, the editor, allowed to be put into the book. Think about it. Think about somebody's business. Think about your business. Are you the backbone? Are you the foundation? And are you the skeleton that all of the ideas hang upon? That's powerful. Have you been able to establish yourself in your business? It matters not whether it's network marketing, whether it's traditional business, whether it's a solopreneur, whether you're an employee. Everything around you, are you the skeleton that all of the decisions hang off of? Or are you putting your ideas on someone else's skeleton that has no backbone? You'll be surprised. I promise you, you'll be surprised if you decide, okay, I'm the backbone of this, but and are you the skeleton? This is just to understand the depth. When you start to do what Cal Newport talks about in his book, deep work, you'll see this at a whole nother level. Are you the skeleton that all of the ideas, the benefits, the value that people can go pick things off, right? Pick the bones. And do you have enough meat on your bones for when people come by and want to pull ideas off, concepts, beliefs, doubts, values? The Law of Success course epitomizes the philosophy and the rules of procedure which made each of these men a great power in his chosen field and endeavor. Okay, so let me say this again, and I'm going to cross over. We're going to bring a Wallace D. Wattles SGR in here. SGR stands for Science of Getting Rich book. These men have been the backbone and the foundation, the skeleton of American business, finance, industry, and statesmanship. The Law of Success, of course, epitomizes the philosophy and the rules of procedure which made each of these men a great power in his chosen field of endeavor. So what does that make you think of if you've been a student of SGR, Science of Getting Rich? It's not about doing certain things. It's about doing things in a certain way. Epitomizes the philosophy and the rules of procedure, doing things in a certain way. Listen, there's only a handful of rules. Jim Rohn said it best. There's a handful of things that'll make you win, and a handful of things avoided will cause pain and suffering. It has been the author's intention to present the course in the plainest and the most simple terms available, so it could be mastered, not understood, not attended, not received an A, B, or C, mastered by very young men and women of high school age. With the exception of the psychological law referred to in lesson 1 as the mastermind, the author lays no claim to having created anything basically new in this course. With the exception of the psychological law referred to in lesson 1 as the mastermind, the author lays no claim to having created anything basically new in this course. This is 1925, the manuscripts. Published 1930s, maybe? But even then, he said, I got nothing new. There's nothing new, nothing new. The psychological benefit of a mastermind, maybe I had something to do with that, but he'll probably refer to Jesus and the 12 disciples. So still nothing new. Life-changing, business-enhancing, change your life forever kind of concept. With the exception of the psychological law of lesson 1, the mastermind, the author lays no claim to having created anything basically new in this course, what he has done, however, has been to organize old truths and known laws into practical and usable form. Isn't that the reason people join you, is because they see practical and a usable philosophy, a form, a concept, a belief, a process, where they may be properly interpreted and applied by the workaday man whose needs call for a philosophy of simplicity. Listen, I can tell you, when I first started in this industry of network marketing some 23, 24 years ago now, man, I made it tough. I didn't keep it simple. I didn't take old truths and laws and turn them into practical and usable forms where they may be properly interpreted. They weren't properly interpreted. It baffled people. It wowed them with my knowledge of business and personalities, and it wowed them, and there was no way for the workaday man who needs a call for simplicity and practicality, a philosophy of simplicity. I wasn't making it simple. It's why my first year cost me $80,000. In passing upon the merits of the laws of success, Judge Elbert H. Gray said, two outstanding features connected with the philosophy impress me most. Here's the two outstanding features. One is the simplicity with which it has been presented. This is simple. Listen, Einstein said everything should be as simple as possible, not simpler. There is a good chance this will confound you, confuse you, delay you, disturb you because of its simplicity. I implore you, I urge you, I beg you to pay attention and think of this in the simplest of terms. One is the simplicity with which it has been presented, and the other is the fact that its soundness is so obvious. Its soundness is so obvious to all that it will be immediately accepted. Now think about that. How many of us have ever been around something that was so simple it was immediately accepted? Yep, I agree with that. Yep, I can do that. Yep. Fill in the blank 1,000 times. It's never been that simple. This is that simple. The fact is that the soundness is so obvious to all that it will be immediately accepted. The student of the course is warned against passing judgment. The student of the course is warned against passing judgment upon it before having read the entire 16 lessons. How many people, when we are in the prospecting world, quit before they ever get started, quit before they spend 6 months in the business getting their first auto ship? They quit. The student of this course is warned against passing judgment upon it before having read the entire 16 lessons. This especially applies to this introduction, in which it has been necessary to include brief reference to the subjects of a more or less technical and scientific nature. The reason for this will be obvious after the student has read the entire 16 lessons. The student who takes up this course with an open mind, and sees to it that his or her mind remains open until the last lesson shall have been read, will be richly rewarded with a broader and more accurate view of life as a whole. Questions, comments, thoughts? Any questions, comments, thoughts before we go into lesson 1? And we won't make it through all of lesson 1 because there's more than 2 pages. Wow. Okay. We may just end it right here. I may start a new recording on lesson 1. Yeah, there's a lot to lesson 1.
So I just want.
Good morning, good evening, Ruth.
So it's I love that he writes it in a way that high schoolers can understand. So I'm like, okay, it shouldn't go over my head. And the encouragement to have us to go through the whole 15 lessons and don't stop until we get through, before we make a judgment, right? Before we decide, oh, it's not worth it. Go through the whole thing.
So you want to know, when I read this probably 20 years ago, the first time, it started when I do my network marketing business. When somebody says yes, I say, hey, listen, before you say yes, there's a requirement. And the requirement is you make it to month 4. After month 4, I don't care what you do. You have to make it to month 4, because if you're not going to make it to month 4, you won't make it past week 4. Why do I ask you to do that? Because there's a philosophical shift in somebody's awareness of making a decision 4 months in a row to build a business. Now, if you want to be a customer, that's fine. Be a customer. I'm not, quit whenever you want. Don't even get started. But if you're going to want to build a business, and if you're going to ask me to mentor you, to guide you, to cajole you, to corner you, to hold you accountable, you have to give me 4 months. Because if you don't get started. I don't want you started. I don't want you to look at me at the end of 30 days and 45 days and the auto ships come and due on the next second month. And you're like, what the hell's going on? I need you to trust a process, not my process, a process. Can you give me 4 months? If you give me 4 months, I can make sure that everything works beyond your wildest dreams. Because here's what I know for a fact. You have not been successful in a business for at least 4 months, because otherwise you'd still be in it. You wouldn't be here having a conversation with me. I don't care if you were in the company for 10 years, you didn't have 4 months of continued success. Give me 4 months. And that's a level of confidence. That's a level of absolute understanding. And what do they say? Wow, this is different already. I know. You ready to get started? You got to give me 4 months. Now, some don't, some do. But when they do, the people who gave me 4 months, 90% of them are still in the profession. We may be in different companies.
Yeah, I was going to ask, if they do the 4 months,
If they do the 4 months, they're in. Listen, and how do I know this? I didn't create the 4-month rule. You know who created a 4-month rule? A billion-dollar company. Melaleuca. They will give you they'll give you $100 back if you watch 5 videos. I think it's 5 videos, and there's a dollar figure for each video, but they only give you the money back after the 4th month, because they know that if they can get you for 4 months, they can get you for 12.
Brilliant.
So we have to understand human nature. We have to understand, how many days does it take to form a habit? 18 months. But how many days are they really spending forming a habit in 4 months? 5. Every time the auto ship needs to come, right? Melaleuca has a displacement order, a backup order. Most companies don't have a backup order. It's brilliant. Listen, if you forget, we'll send you what we have in the inventory. That's what their backup order is. Nikin was the first company, and everybody followed it, and I don't know if they still do it, but I sold 70% of my inventory. That when you place your next order, you have had to gotten rid of 70% because they didn't want you stocking up. So those are conversations. So when you hear this, the simplicity, but get to all 16 lessons, then make your judgment. Get to month 4, then make your judgment. We keep trying to cajole them and get people excited to get to month 4, and we're kicking and screaming, and we wind up doing it for them. Does that help? Sometimes I ramble. A lot of times I ramble.
It's perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Who else? Thoughts, comments, questions, takeaways? So the contents of the lessons. 1, power, what it is and how to create and use it. Cooperation. So power of what it is and how to use it. That's the Philip D. Armour conversation, Dr. Gonzalez conversation. 2, cooperation in psychology of cooperative effort and how to use it constructively. 3, the mastermind, how to create through harmony of purpose and effort between 2 or more people. Session 4, contents of the lesson, Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, and Harvey Firestone, the secret of their power and wealth. 5. 5 is 5 is the big 6. How they made the law and the mastermind yield them a profit of more than $25 million. This is the 1900s, ladies and gentlemen. Can you imagine the power of 6, how they made the law of the mastermind? Do you see the power of a you know what the challenge is with a mastermind today? Is everybody's too afraid to be vulnerable. They have no qualifications for people to join their mastermind. What are the qualifications? And here's the thing. Once you have one person in your mastermind, they now have to approve as much as you do the other person in the mastermind. Can you imagine when they asked Carnegie, how come you're so rich in steel? You know nothing about making steel. He says, I know nothing about making steel. But what I do know is how to get 26 of the brightest minds on the planet to work in harmony to make steel. What's the harmony in your business that needs to be created? That's what we're going to talk about in the mastermind in the next chapter. So here's the beginning paragraph. This, laws of success, this is a course of fundamentals on the fundamentals of success. Success is very largely a matter of adjusting one's self to the ever-varying and changing environments of life in a spirit of harmony and poise. That one, harmony, people can do harmony all day long. Poise, people suck at poise. They don't understand poise. They don't understand the elegance of it, the edification of it. They don't understand the significance of poise. Success is very, very largely a matter of adjusting one's self to the ever-varying and changing environments of life. What does Tony Robbins say? We don't lack the resources. We lacked our resourcefulness. Waddles says we must move from the competitive mind to the cooperative mind. In a spirit of harmony and poise, I can promise you, if you understand, if you go embody the word poise, your life will change forever. It is such a word of elegance. It's such a word of sophistication. It is such a word of intelligence. When used in this nature of building a business, when you can remain poised and your mastermind is poised, ready for, prepared for success of a magnitude you could only imagine. Here's the reality. The true dream that you want, the big dream that you want, you can only imagine. It's once you're in a mastermind, a pure, true mastermind. Your mastermind, when you sit in it, you will sit poised in harmony, without judgment, without delay, without procrastination, without aggravation or agitation. You will sit with your reticular activating system opened, ready, and ready to receive and ready to hear what the person who is seeking can't see. You, literally, you, the listener, can believe more in my dreams than I can. Why? Because I have my own personal beliefs and value systems that cloud and cover and sometimes confuse me. Having a mastermind changes that forever. Those that will be coming to the ranch will have an opportunity to say yes to becoming part of a mastermind post the event. It won't be for everybody because it'll be effort. And the effort will produce results that you've only dreamed of. But there will be effort. And in effort, we often don't get results, so we stop efforting. A mastermind will keep you from losing your effort. So it goes on to say, the most outstanding of these weaknesses which stand between men and women and the success are intolerance. Oh, I can't put up with that. Cupidity, go Google cupidity. Cupidity, Cupidity. That's a cool word. Some of you, that's your first time you've ever heard of it. Cupidity. Greed, this is what stands between you and your goals. Jealousy, suspicion, revenge, egotism, conceit, the tendency to reap where they have not sown, and the habit of spending more than they earn. Those are the most outstanding weaknesses. And so that's what we'll be going through in the mastermind in the next session, episode 3 of the Laws of Success. Any last words, comments, questions on Bell's opening statements? Or Armour's conversation? All righty. This will all be, so session 1 is already on the dashboard. If you scroll down, I think I published it. If you scroll down, you'll see episode 1, and by tomorrow you'll see episode 2. So all of these conversations, and what I'm also doing is producing a workbook. With every section that we go through, I'm creating questions as it relates to the content for you to do some reviews. Sounds pretty cool, right? It's called the Unauthorized The Laws of Success Workbook. Just in case somebody wants to come rabble rouse. All right, everybody, we're still on Lamb Watch 2024. No lambs yet, so we'll see you all in the morning. I'm your head Laws of Success misfit. I'll see you all where?
At the next event.
At the next event.
I love it, love it, love it. All right, everybody. Love you tons. I'll see you in the morning. Till then, bye for now.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean.